Yo, what is going on? It's the Heavyist podcast, weekly worship at the altar of radness. We talk about riffs all the bloody time. And if you like heavy
All the
music,
time.
you should just give us a nice little subscribe. It'll make Gary's day. Look at his little face.
Look at me. I'm so sad. I need it.
Imagine somebody just press the subscribe button right now. What would you do?
Oh my god.
Look at that.
The joy that you could bring to this old man's heart just
Yes.
by pressing the subscribe button, leaving a comment and hitting like. This week we are talking about an absolutely bloody massive album. The band are called Killswitch Engage.
Yes,
They are
mate.
a legendary 5-piece metalcore band from Massachusetts. Their new album, I'm going to stop doing the voice. Their new album is called This Consequence. It's released on Friday the 21st of February through Metal Blade Records.
Where do we start, Gary?
Dude.
How do you even start to discuss a band
start?
such as Killswitch Engage?
Such a important seminal band. I would definitely say seminal band.
Seminal, absolutely. I don't think there is a singular band as influential that have existed in our generation. Like I don't think there's a single metalcore band that goes into the studio and doesn't listen to End of Heartache like 5 times before they even think about writing choruses. I think that's factual.
Man. I couldn't agree with you more. Like the impact that Killswitch has had on the scene that we call home has just been enormous, and it continues to be enormous. I mean, look at all of this sort of wave of this next generation of metalcore bands coming through now, who are all so heavily inspired by the kind of the early 2000s. You know, I always remember there was the whole a thing about how Killswitch Engage and certain other bands who we can't talk about so much, but there was a wave of these bands who came to sort of put new metal in the ground, and you know, the world hasn't looked back since. I mean, I know now we look at new metal as almost like classic rock, but I feel like the
right
the
up
genre,
there with the Doors,
scene,
isn't they?
Yeah,
Limp Bizkit.
absolutely.
It
Led
goes
Zeppelin,
the Zombies,
Linkin
the
Park.
Doors,
But you know what I mean? Like, it has got to that point. If you look at festival lineups and stuff, new metal is kind of treated in that sort of way. But I think
100%.
metalcore and the scenes of bands that Killswitch kind of spearheaded is still at the cutting edge of what's the most sort of cool, most exciting kind of areas of modern metal music. And so I think they've got an absolutely massive legacy. But I would be remiss if I didn't admit that their last couple of albums have not really been that good.
I needed to mention that. So before we get into this review in proper, we have to be completely honest. And I'm going to be doing this as if the last album they put out was As Daylight Dies. Okay, that is
probably a good shout.
I'm a Killswitch fan from day one, and those early albums up till Daylight Dies were just so massively, like I said, influential. Just such a huge part of even my core friendships. All of my closest mates, it'll always happen. You get drunk, you get together, someone's going to put Rosa Sharon on. If no one puts Rosa Sharon on, we're having a mare. It's so ingrained into my close knit friendships. This band doesn't mean a huge amount to me. And when Howard left, or rather when Jesse came back,
Jesse returned.
I don't think I think I might have been a bit grumpy at the time, and I maybe didn't give it as much of a time of day as I should have.
Grumpy? Not giving a bad time of day because you were in a bad mood? Never, Sonny. I would never imagine that to happen. That's ridiculous. No, I know exactly what you mean. Obviously I love Alive or Just Breathing. That, when I first heard My Last Serenade on Kerrang, I was completely floored by that as a concept. I hadn't heard Earth Crisis or whatever else was going on in that metalcore scene at that point. That was I heard that and I was just like, oh my God, what is this? I think I had a CD that was on the front cover of a Rock Sound, which had numbered days on it, which was even gnarlier and even heavier. I was just like I was up until that point, I was like, Linkin Park, Papa Roach. I was really into all of that kind of stuff. And, maybe Glassjaw and some of that sort of post-hardcore scene. And then I heard those songs. And from there I went out and I had to absorb Atreyu. I had to absorb As I Lay Dying. I had to absorb even Avenged Sevenfold at the time, who I've completely gone off since. But I was, like Sounding the Seventh Trumpet and Awaking the Fallen, brilliant albums. I had to go out and I just had to absorb all of this music, and it was all because of Killswitch Engage. And them opening my eyes to what was out there.
Yeah, if I didn't get into them, I wouldn't have got into It Dies Today and probably Bleeding Through and other things like that.
And before you know it, you're listening to deathcore, and you're listening to Unearth, you're listening to The Strain, and all of these things that have shaped who we are now as we sit here, 30-somethings, nearly 40-somethings, and so I owe a lot to this band. But I have always been, mainly focused on the Howard era. I was always they were all my favorite records, and I kind of when, like you say, I was probably not as grumpy about it as you, but when Jesse came back, I was a bit like, okay. But then when we saw him at Bloodstock a couple of years back, I was like, yeah, okay, props where props are due. Jesse Leach is a bloody good vocalist.
Powerhouse.
He can destroy live. He can really own all of the songs from the Howard era, from the earlier days. He's still got everything. But I hadn't really stayed on top of what Killswitch Engage were doing. I listened to Disarm the Descent, and I know that people really like that record. But then I think there was 2 more albums after that one that were I just think they were a bit dull, to be honest. And it's been 6 years.
It's been a long ass time, man. And yeah, like I said, I think watching them at Bloodstock, I was like, you know what? Jesse is the absolute man. He's a great vocalist. I think a lot of his choruses have been quite cheesy, and that's what sort of put me off of some of the later albums. But then when it came to time for new Killswitch riffs and the singles we heard, I've just been on board, mate. I'm so ready. I'm so ready for this, and it's been an absolute treat. Save me from defeat. Deliver me a revelation.
Bloody fantastic, this record. It's 10 tracks. It's probably in a half an hour-ish region. It gets in, it gets out. It doesn't muck about. There's not really any fat on the record. It's just loaded with absolutely huge bangers. It's an absolutely brilliant record. These guys, I think have absolutely killed it. I read an interview with Adam D and Jesse, which was in Kerrang, which was really interesting because basically I think they decided to really push Jesse to go the extra mile with what he was doing. They were like, what we're gonna they banned a load of words and a load of sort of specific cliches from his lyric writing that he wasn't allowed to use. One of the examples they gave in the interview was he was not allowed to use the word great. The great was off the table. You're not allowed to put that into any of your lyrics. And they would basically take every song, and I think he wrote each song 4 or 5 times to really get drilled into something that was fresh and interesting and an exciting approach. There was a quote in the interview where Adam told him that he had to scrap an entire song because it sounded like advice that a dad would give. And he's like, mate, I just don't want that. I'm not having that. And that's isn't that brilliant? Because from what I could gather, basically Jesse Leach is kind of known for being a bit overly sensitive about his songwriting and his lyric writing. And they were like, right, we're putting all of that bullshit, leaving all of that bullshit at the door. No one's going to be sensitive about anything. We're best friends and we just want to make an amazing record. And they just sort of took him to task. And the result of that is absolutely brilliant. It was so worth, being vulnerable with that kind of thing, because the result that they get from this album is just fucking killer. It's absolutely brilliant.
That is so good. It feels like they have literally just listened to every negative comment I've ever said about Jesse Leach in my head and like taken it out and put it to like, this is exactly what we needed. And this record, I'm just so stoked on it, man. Like it's quintessentially Killswitch, which is fantastic. There's not a major change in what they do, but what they do here on this record is just, like you say, it's like 30 minutes. It's so lean. Like for a band of that size, to not just start sniffing their own farts at any point throughout the record is really amazing. Like for them to be able to do it, like compositionally, this album is such a feat because it's just riff, chorus, riff, breakdown, nothing. Like there's no noodly nonsense, no like higher like sort of concept moments that like it just there's no. The grandeur is all in the sort of the delivery of these really, really cool choruses, and all of them are backed by sick fucking Killswitch riffs, mate. It's just, it's great. I am over the moon.
I absolutely agree with you, man. Like they are absolutely at their fighting weight on this record. Like it's sublime. Like it's so well put together, and I think that like I don't think you can give Jesse as much of a hard time in the studio about his lyric writing without having to then put the same scrutiny on the songwriting that you're doing, and what you ending up with is just a really tight package of really like ultra focused brilliant bangers. Like every track on this record could be a single. There's no like every one of them would work as a single, but also it kind of loosens up a bit as it goes on, doesn't it? Like the first sort of 4 tracks are really perfect tight little bangers, but they kind of get a little bit more. They kind of just expand it a little bit as they work through. They kind of start throwing in a bit more death metal, which is something that's I feel like has been lacking a bit in the more recent material. It's kind of felt to me, it kind of felt like Killswitch have got to a point where their records felt like assembly lines. It felt like, okay, so now that we do this bit, and then we do that bit, and then there's the big bit, and then there's the little heavy bit, and it's done. But this doesn't feel like that. Like each song has like its own vibe, and it has its own idea and its own structure and move, and I think that just makes the whole thing feel really exciting from like second one to the final second. Like you don't have, I don't feel myself like drifting while I'm listening to it at any point. Like it keeps my attention so well because of how perfectly put together it is.
Like there's only really one track on this album that I don't think is like a proper 10, and it's that I Believe. I think it's just a little bit cheesy, and I feel like if they were giving him words not to put into a track, I don't know how I Believe got in there, because that is mature cheddar.
I reckon they probably had to just give him that one like motivational speaker toxic positivity song. He probably had to throw him a bone.
Yeah, but even inside that track, like it really like it goes straight into Where It Dies, which is like a proper like metallic hardcore riffy that absolutely rules. Proper stompy rager with like pinches all over the stuff. Like The Fall of Us, that track that like bursts out with an absolute like extreme metal style. Sounds like friggin' Hate Eternal or Vital Remains or some shit. It's like goes proper aggressive, like goes proper death metal, and I love it.
Yeah, man. I think The Fall of Us is probably my favorite track on the record. Like I really like
it's hard, mate.
It's really, really, and I love the way that they kind of, it's the heavy riffs that come off the end of choruses that they have in moments throughout this record are really exciting. Like you've got that big melodic moment and it just goes like it just does what you want it to, and I love that. And there's a couple of songs as well that have this idea of writing like kind of maybe the most extreme stuff that Killswitch have ever written, and then singing over the top of it. And it works fucking brilliantly. Like Discordant Nation. The chorus in Discordant Nation
blasts
is incredible.
Over the chorus.
It's so good. And it's like a really interesting, weird, melodic like line that isn't something you typically hear them do. Over that, like almost black metal, almost like melodic black metal.
That feels like a Soilwork move, like blast, like chorus over blast beats, and it rules, man. Like that track is amazing. That is a proper gold tier Killswitch track for me. Aftermath, that just absolutely races out, proper high pace, that energy, and then it gets really sort of massively euphoric and bright. Forever Aligned is fantastic.
Two-step in the chorus of Aftermath. Isn't that like absolutely brilliant when he's like, like, do you think there's a song on this record that's like on a level with Rose of Sharon or My Curse, or like, is there, like, if there is, it's probably Forever Aligned, right?
Forever Aligned is absolutely fantastic. Yeah. It's really hard for me to say what is.
I mean, it's difficult because it's been we've had 20 years of enjoying those songs, and we've had 20 minutes of enjoying this record. We've had this record for about a month, so I know, asking you, is there a song here that's an all-time classic, and you've been able to go, yeah, there is actually. Like, no. It's a difficult question, I understand, but if there was ever going to be one on this record, it's probably Forever Aligned, right?
Yeah. What I absolutely agree with is that, like, there are moments on this record that are absolutely the heaviest things that they've ever written, which is absolutely sick. I really like how a couple of times throughout the record there's a real like layering of vocals where there's a proper low in there, and it's just absolutely brilliant. And like Jesse's performance is fantastic. He's just such a brilliant vocalist. Like, he's got such an amount of grit and proper passion that like comes across in his vocals. Like, it's not just like this like empty, like an empty deathcore vocal that just means nothing to them, and it's all technique. Like, this is like Jesse's just pure passion in the vocals, and it rules. And like, I guess you get someone that passionate, every now and then they're gonna write some cheesy business, but like you got to nosh through the cheddar, mate, because this thing rips.
You have to kind of take the rough with the smooth in those instances. Like, so if someone, he's like a human puppy, like he's got the personality of a Labrador, like it's going to happen that he's going to write some sort of like motivational speaker type business. Like, it's hard to avoid. But when you actually like really focus in, the result of what he does on this record is incredible. Like, there's a moment, it's in Where It Dies, where he gives you that proper Howard Jones style, when he does the like Suffer My Vengeance, he just gets really high. And I was like, Jesse's here, man. Like, he's on the board for like just being one of the sickest metalcore vocalists going now. Like, I'm totally 100% turned around on Jesse Leach as a vocalist. Like, this is I really, really dig this record. Something I wanted to ask you about was the front cover, because I seen an article. It was done by the bassist, right? And basically he was having a tizzy because he was annoyed that people were accusing it of being AI.
Yeah. Some people so I even thought it was AI when I first saw it, just because it's something it's like either it's AI or they've literally like just, I don't know, like spent forever making these like practical, like creating a junkyard of cool ass robots these with intricate detailing. Like I don't know, they've just been like knocking around like the back of Lionsgate, like getting old things out the bin. how? I saw that as well. I saw him having a bit of mare. People like saying
having a bit of a meltdown. Bless him. Like, I think it's a very cool art. It's a very cool front cover. It's very different to the sort of stuff that they've done before. I really like it. It kind of reminds me of the Hibaro, the Love, Death and Robots episode. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's got a similar kind of art style to that, which is really cool. I just think the whole package of this record is absolutely wicked, mate. Off the back of this, just bearing in mind, like, so far, of the bands that I listed off earlier on, the only one who's ever stepped up to be a download headliner was Avenged Sevenfold. Do you think Killswitch are ready to be download headliners?
Oh, I mean, they did Bloodstock.
They did.
The
size
Bloodstock,
of Bloodstock compared to the size of Download is quite different, though.
Yeah.
I think if you're talking about size.
But if you're talking about heavy festivals in the UK, that is the next step, right? Like, that is the next step for them. So it makes sense that it would be something on the horizon. I would love it. I mean, I'd be over the moon to watch a headline set by them. Like,
I really think it's time. I think listening to this record, really like over the last couple of weeks, really getting absorbed into this album. I think it's time. I mean, obviously now we know Downloader are taking a swing at some slightly less established, like festival headliner sized bands. You know, they've got Sleep Token headlining this year. They had last year Queens of the Stone Age. You know, they're trying, and I really think that like Killswitch Engage should be Download Festival headliner. They're big enough, and this record just really cements that for me. I think it's time. Like they absolutely destroyed Bloodstock. Obviously, like I say, Download is much bigger than Bloodstock, but I do think that there's the legacy and the back catalogue of Killswitch Engage, coupled with how great they are live, the personality that they've got. I do think that they fully deserve it. And if that wasn't something that was in their minds while they were writing this album, I would be quite surprised because it feels massively anthemic. Like obviously they've been at that sort of stadium level for a while, but I just feel like this is it's just like it's evidence that they're ready to make that next big step.
I mean, if they got announced, it would be the sickest dudes trip. It would be we'd have
to assemble the bros. You'd have to like blow the trumpet, assemble the dude crew. We'd all have to be there. It'd be so good. Like go proper old school, back to basics. Like get in the tents and really.
It would be sick. It would be absolutely sick.
So good. It'd be so
I would be over the moon with it. Yeah. So I just think, this album's just been really masterfully put together. There's not an ounce of fat on it. It's them at their heaviest and best in fucking years. And like from a fan, like as a fan from day one that had kind of lost faith in the post-Howard direction and what they're putting out, like I've got no problem admitting that I am over the fucking moon with this record, mate. Like Broken Glass, that's one we hadn't mentioned, but like the way that song just bursts out with aggression, I was grinning ear to ear. Like this is awesome. I am so stoked. I feel like they've not made a play for the more accessible. They've got all their sort of brilliant elements that makes them a fantastic band, and they've just put them just to brilliant use here. Like I am thoroughly over the moon with this.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, man. I do respect that it's like they're just doing what they do best, and it's like the mainstream can come to us kind of thing. Like, and I really respect that move, and the record's incredible. Everyone out there, you're all going to listen to it, but you really, if for some reason you're like us and you're like, oh, Killswitch haven't really done anything great in a while, do it. Make the time. Listen to this record. It will change your mind. It will change your mind. And if it doesn't, you can. I'll give you your money back. I don't know what money you spent, but I'll give it back to you. That's the Heavyist guarantee. I guarantee.
I guarantee.
Yeah, man. Coming out on Friday. New Killswitch record is bloody banging. Give it a
hell
listen.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Fucking just
absolutely. Just short but sweet, mate. Short but sweet. And do us a favor, like do some subscribing, write us a comment, let us know what you thought of the record. We want to hear.
Please do.
Let us know what your favorite tracks are, all that sort of good business.
Breeze. That's always good.
We could be chatting breeze, bro.
I don't mind it.
I'm not above chatting breeze. We have a lovely Discord server full of awesome people sharing music all the time. It's really, really lovely. Come down to that. Next week we'll be chatting about the hardest band of the UK returning with the frontman of the hardest band in the UK that have returned. They have produced a beautiful EP from the ashes. And it's amazing. We'll see you then.
It's going to be lovely. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye.